Hello, soccer robots. Welcome back. And today I'm going to be talking about 28 Years Later, which brings back director Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland to the third installment of the franchise of 28 Days Later, which started back in, I think it was in 1999, 2000. But this film, I was able to see it yesterday. I was very glad to see it yesterday at 12 p.m. June 19th, opening day in my local theater, and I was able to get this poster 28 years later. As you can see, they were giving them out as like appreciation for you showing up on opening day, etc., etc. But today I'm going to talk about the film. I'm going to talk about 28 Years Later, my thoughts on it, a little summary, but this film sends us off to this world of brutality that is the rage virus. It's so rich in details, very rich in details, you have to really pay attention to this film to notice these details. The story is original. It's like they expanded upon the world of 28 Days Later. Well, this is now 28 years later, and it's an isolated community separated by a causeway, right? For instance, it's a causeway away from the mainland, which is Britain, of course. Once you're on the mainland, you're on your own, and that's about it. This is the map that they provide. I don't know if you could see it. You can see. This is the map. This is the island where they're at. They're there. It's a community, and they're isolated from the mainland. They're separated by the mainland. But like I said, once you're on the mainland, you're on your own, and these characters know that. They let them know that, and the people that are there in the community, they tell them, you know what? Once you go out there, you're on your own. You're gonna fend for yourself. We cannot go rescue you. You're on your own. That's it. You don't come back. You don't come back. This film finds itself 28 years later after the rage virus consumed the mainland, and it's a very long trip. There's sequences in this film that really elongate the journey going to the mainland and trying to survive, and I think that's where the strength of the film is on. That's the strength of the film. Every scene in this film is tense and very well shot. I think they used iPhone 15 Pro Maxes in this film for some shots, not the whole entirety of the film. Some of the angles captured by these iPhones is just spectacular. You have like sequences where these zombies are running, and you get different angles from these iPhone 15 Pro Maxes, and it's something that is very, very satisfying to look at. It gives you like a sense of immersion for these quick shots and these angles. And I think it's something that we gotta appreciate, and it's very good in the sense that not only does it add immersion, but it makes you feel like you're there. And I think Danny Boyle is a master for really putting this out there, this technology, and taking advantage of it. He did say that he was doing this for, yes, cost effective. They were small. They were going into this untouched wilderness in the forest, and they didn't really want to mess with it. And that's another thing that I wanted to get at. They give you these camera angles, give you a sense of immersion, not only to show the violence in different angles when these zombies are getting attacked, when they're getting killed, but it shows like a level of detail. It almost breaks the barrier of the fourth wall in a way. That's what the movie's trying to do with these different angles, like you're there, and I think I appreciate that from Danny Boyle. This is an unsettling immersion, like I was saying. It's very unsettling, and it gives you different angles, and it's amazing. The forest itself is another character in the film, and I really love the desolate, untouched wilderness and how it looks 28 years later. There's not that many people that go to these forests, There's these zombies, these infected, well, let's not call them zombies, they're rage infected, and you do see the rage in their eyes when they're chasing somebody, and it's basically very raw and visceral seeing these rage infected running after somebody. And I think that it's very unsettling to watch. However, once you leave the theater, that those images stay in your head because they're so impactful. And I feel like the production team did an amazing job showing the level of detail of these zombies. You know, you have various amount of zombies. You have the alpha. The alpha is the terrifying one. Another thing that I was gonna say is where this movie shines is the 28 years that have passed. It shows you details that have happened, you know, like how the world has changed, the world outside, the world inside the mainland, the world in the community, how these 28 years have really done what these 28 years have done to people, you know. And I think that's where this movie shines on both sides, what these 28 years have done on both sides, equally on the people that are surviving and the people that are and the rage infected, how they have evolved. And they've evolved, all right. They've become more aggressive, and there's different types. They're becoming more intelligent as well and very strong as well. That's where the alpha comes in the film. I don't really want to get too much into it. You guys should watch the film, but these guys are visceral, tough, visceral, and big. That's why they're called alphas in the film. And like I said, these 28 years, this is the strength of the film, which is the 28 years that have passed, which makes it, these details that are there are very well captured by the length, you know. And then you have these rage infected survive in packs, you know. The alpha is the one that leads them off, and that's they've evolved so much, gotten smarter and faster, and they're very sneaky sometimes. But that's where the movie shines. The intensity of the rage virus, you know. It's gotten more intense, it's evolved over time, and I think that it's something that is well captured on the film. It does send shivers down your spine. It does keep you at the edge of your seat, and I give them a plus for that because that is amazing, you know. That is something that, a level of detail that you won't see in other films, you know. The story of this film, now I'm gonna get to the story. The story of this film is there. You know, they've reached a perfect equilibrium, I can't say that word. They've reached a balance, you know, a very good balance of story mixed along with the intensity, you know, the level of intensity, story, and the level of intensity is just perfect, you know. You do have moments where you slow down from the tenseness, from the intensity of the chases, you know, where they're running away from these infected, to just calm down and refocus, not refocus, but like keep you invested in what's going on, their objectives, what they have to do next. And I feel like they have enough material to make a sequel, you know. I think it's under production. The 28 years later, The Bone Temple, it's going to be called, but I don't think it's going to be directed by Danny Boyle. It's going to be by Nia Costa, I believe, and it's coming out next year, according to sources. And I would like to see what happens from there. The thing about this franchise is it was 28 days later, and then later it was called 28 weeks later, and those sequels are just, the sequel 28 weeks later is a little bit down here, you know. I really don't like it, you know, as much as 28 days later, so I kind of like ignore it in a bit. But this film has captured back the audience, you know. But I think it's mainly because of the story and the way it captured everything, you know. They're using technology like the iPhone 15 Pro Max. They're using drones, you know, to capture aerial shots and everything looks really, really good. So I think this film really outdid itself. Danny Boyle outdid itself. Alex Garland wrote a compelling story, you know, a story that I believe is not finished. That's the main issue that I have with this film. A story that is not finished. It can keep going. It offered closure to some characters, you know, but I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more invested in these characters, you know. Maybe later we'll see more what happens, you know, and I really want to see what they do in the future. I love this film. This film was great. Go watch it in theaters, and I honestly think you're gonna have a good time. I did. I know I did. Apart from getting this poster, you know, and this map, you know, this map, which is, like I told you guys, it shows the level of effort and detail these guys put into this film, and it's something that you must experience in a movie theater. So I do urge you to go watch it in a movie theater before it's gone. I know I'm probably gonna go watch it at least one more time. You know, I'm a movie fanatic. I love movies, but this film really stuck with me. 28 Days Later was a great film. It stood the test of time, you know, and I think this one is a great sequel to the other two. It elevated itself. So I'm probably gonna go watch it again. I don't know when, probably next week, you know. The reason being that it's a great film. And I believe that great films should be appreciated, and this one is it. I can't give it a score for this review. I can't give it a score. I could just talk about how well crafted this piece of work is. And I believe that 28 years later, for me, is the best film I've watched so far this year, 2025. And I've watched a couple movies, you know. I've watched a couple movies more, but they didn't really have the impact that this film had on me. I was at the edge of my seat. I was tense. You know, I was like, what's gonna happen next? Oh, look, that, this, that. And I was just very, very invested in everything, you know. Apart from this character that we have in the film, he has a lot of potential to keep the franchise going. And I feel like this is what Danny Boyle wants, you know. He wants to give opportunities to other directors to expand, you know, to keep the franchise going. And I feel like that's a good thing. That's something that a lot of directors should be doing. And I love this film. Every second of it, it's just raw, visceral, brutal, but at the same time, it has these elements where you start thinking about mortality, you know, mortality, what it is to die, what it is to be part of something, part of something, and keep on living, you know, being like to come to terms with death, in other words. And I love this film. I love this film, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.